Hello and welcome to the Western Boone School Board meeting tonight. This is a meeting of the school board held in public and not a public meeting. No patrons communicated a desire to be placed on this evening's agenda with Mr. Ramey. So per board policy 1270, individuals wishing to address the school board will need to contact Mr. Ramey by the Wednesday prior to the meeting. And now just a few housekeeping items. After the Pledge of Allegiance and the prayer, I'll take a roll call. I will read each of the board members' names and ask that each of you state that you are present. And Mr. Ramey will lead all recommendations. However, if you have any questions, members of the leadership have also called in to the conference call and they can respond to your questions accordingly. So just as a reminder, please state your name prior to making a motion or seconding a motion. And each time a vote is taken, I'll read your names in alphabetical order and ask you to respond with a yes or no. Okay, well, thank you again for being on, and we will stand for the prayer and the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Father, we pause to acknowledge you. We ask that you will be with our school corporation, be with the citizens, the administrators, the teachers, the students, the families who are adjusting with the circumstances we have. We ask for protection and health, safety. We ask for endurance and guidance in doing the work of the board. It's in your son's name we pray. Amen. Let me get logged back in. Okay. First item is we will go through and roll call to make sure everyone is present. When I call your name, please state that you're present. Rick Davis.
Present.
Phil Foster.
Present.
Brian Gott.
Present.
Mike Martin.
Present.
Dennis Reagan.
Present.
Melissa Smith.
Present.
Thank you all. And the first item we have on this evening's agenda are the minutes. And I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the April 13th, 2020 school board meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Rick Davis, motion. Thank you, Rick. Is there a second?
Mike Martin, second.
Thank you, Mike. And we'll proceed with the vote. Rick?
Aye.
Phil Foster?
Yes.
Brian Gott?
Yes.
Mike Martin?
Aye.
Dennis Reagan?
Yes.
And Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Thank you all. We don't have listed tonight any special presentations, but there is a report.
Yes, we have two here. The first one I'll ask is Jane Taylor to discuss the school lunch program for 2021, and in that will include the lunch prices for next school year. So, Mrs. Taylor, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay. The food service is required by federal law to do an annual review of paid lunch equity. And I did this late April. I sent it into the state for its approval. And the tool indicated that we need to raise our lunch prices for next year. The state is for next, the state says, we can raise it by only 10 cents because there's a minimum cap. But, I applied for a waiver the next day, and, on April 24th, the state did give us an exemption that we do not have to raise the prices for this year, coming year, 2021. So it is my recommendation, with careful planning and determination, to keep meal prices the same as it has been for the last 7 years. And I just need, I would say, your approval that I can do this and that I don't have to raise it at this time. Is there any questions about the lunch prices?
So do you need a vote on that then, Mrs. Taylor?
Well, I need to
Yeah,
have it approved.
we can go ahead and vote on that. We'll have to, I'll let Shane take
Sure.
over. Does anybody have any questions for Jane in regards to the school lunch prices for next school year?
And the one thing I recall from some of our material is, and I think it'd be duly noted, is that'll keep our lunch prices consistent for, I think, is it the last 7 years, Jane? And
It's probably been about 7.
yeah, and it's like a lunch at the high school is $2.20, and at the elementary is like $1.80. So that's been locked in, and that's been a real benefit to our students to be able to have the good management side, to not be raising those prices on a yearly basis. So we've been very, that's worked out very well for our community.
Yeah, we should mention, I appreciate Mrs. Taylor's efforts on that. It's a lot of work for her to go through that process, so very much appreciated.
Yeah. Okay, so if I don't hear any other questions or discussions, and I'll pause just a second to see if there are, but if they're not, then I will ask for a motion based on her recommendation, but I'll pause for a second to see if anyone has further questions or discussion. Okay, and not hearing any, I would accept a motion to approve that the lunch prices in the Western Boone County Community School Corporation remain consistent for the upcoming calendar year with no raise.
School year.
Melissa, so moved.
Thank you, Melissa. We have a motion.
Second.
Dennis, thank you. We have a second. We'll go through the vote next. Rick Davis,
Aye.
Phil Foster,
Yes.
Brian Gott,
Yes.
Mike Martin,
Aye.
Dennis Reagan,
Yes.
Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jane.
You're welcome.
Next, we have Joe Keith giving an update on the pool project. So Joe, we'll turn it over to you.
All right, good evening. The shallow end of the pool has been formed and poured. The deep end's been dug out. The east side has been shored up with steel beams, steel I-beams and plywood down to a depth of about 8 or 9 feet. The deepest parts of the dig, they've run into a lot of sand, water, muck. So they've been pumping water continuously with a couple of sump pumps over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And then in order to keep going and to be able to pour concrete, they need to stabilize the ground. So last Friday, along the east side, especially at the deep end, they pumped a polyurethane material into the ground at the specified intervals. And then that expands and stabilizes the soil so that they can then cover this with rock and pour concrete. So that was all done on last Friday. Last week they cut the big concrete slabs on the west side of the pool down at the deep end. If you recall some of the pictures, there were great big slabs and they're all tied together. They had someone come in and cut all that. That's out of the way now of the new pour. And then this week they're digging and forming where the drain lines go in on the deep end, and they will spend the rest of the week forming in the deep end and installing rebar and hoping to pour next week sometime And right now, they're running about 2 weeks behind schedule, so. Aside from the water issue, and we anticipated getting in some water, and there is a lot of sand, so that was the reason to have to inject the polyurethane. Anybody have any questions?
So the projected completion date, I realize that's still a moving target. There's still a lot of pieces to go.
End of September.
End of September. Okay.
Yeah, end of September, 1st of October, and he is supposed to, once they get this pour in place, he's supposed to revise that and pinpoint everything a little tighter for us, but it looks like about the end of September.
Hey, Joe, this is Brian. Any more update on the duct work that needs to be looked at? Any more idea on that?
The ductwork for the exhaust, which was the chemical exhaust, that's been approved to change all of that, starting with the fan up on the roof all the way down. That was just for the exhaust fan. The other fan, or the other ductwork that was in question, was the supply ducts up in above the ceiling, the big ones that you see. We don't anticipate that being anything that needs to be replaced. That's surface rust that we believe is on there, and once they get up there and paint, then we'll paint that with the epoxy. Don't think that there's anything inside that. That really wasn't due to any kind of a chemical like the other exhaust fan was.
Okay, thank you.
And Brian, that duct work was just a little over $11,000 to get that and the motor or the fan replaced.
Yeah, that's the exhaust ductwork.
Okay. Any other questions?
As far as budget, do we anticipate being close to budget or above budget?
Right now, we're still within.
Right now,
we're still within budget, Phil. We have enough contingency set aside that we're still in good shape to cover some costs like the duct work and some other. I think the biggest concern was with the shoring and what we might need to be there as far as cost, and that's probably running over a little bit, but all said and done, with what we have set aside for the total project, we're still right now look to be in good shape.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate your report. And
all right, thank you.
And we will move next into the action items and go into personnel.
Yeah, and I'll read through these. I have some recommendations. At Granville Wells, Kerry Cole, FMLA, custodian effective May 18th to August 7th. You had approved an earlier one, but due to the situation with the hospitals, that was postponed, so this is the new dates. And then ECA, Julie Lester, Spell Bowl coach, Becky Crawford, yearbook sponsor, Kelly Adams, RTI rep, Amber Callie, RTI rep, and Sarah Gentry, RTI rep. At Thorntown, Katie Marath, change in position from long-term substitute to secretary effective July 1. And Carrie Hurlman, resignation, first grade, effective at the end of the 1920 school year. At Western Boone, Amanda Taylor, employment Spanish 1 and 3, effective the 2021 school year. Nathan Burke, employment physical education teacher, effective 2021 school year. Jamie Comer, resignation, physical ed teacher, effective end of this current school year, 1920. Janice Kane, resignation, credit recovery coordinator, effective at the end of this school year. And then Steve Rogers, resignation custodian, effective April 24th, 2020. Corporation-wide, Dava Anderson Peck, contract renewed for a 12-month term commencing on August 1st and concluding July 31st, 2021. Western Boone Athletics, Luke Pearson, termination, Assistant Athletic Director. Nathan Burke, Summer Weights Program Coordinator. Justin Pelly, Summer Weights Program Coordinator. That are all the recommendations for personnel at each of the buildings and corporation.
Great. Being a large employer, there's always quite a few within that section.
Yep, and in a year especially.
Any questions from the board members? And not hearing any questions, I would accept a motion to approve the personnel as presented then.
Phil, so moved.
Thank you, Phil.
Second, Melissa.
Okay, and we have a second. Thank you, Melissa. And we'll go through on the vote. Rick Davis,
Aye.
Phil Foster,
Yes.
Brian Gott,
Yes.
Mike Martin,
Aye.
Dennis Reagan, I'm sorry, maybe it cut out there. Dennis Reagan, and Dennis, you might have us muted as well. All right, we're going to come back to Dennis in a minute. Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Thank you, Melissa. And
Dennis is back.
okay, all right. Dennis, can we get your vote on the personnel? Yes. Okay, thank you, Dennis.
Yes. Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button.
You're fine, we got you.
No problem.
It tried to FaceTime you.
All right, that's all good. We got to be able to laugh a little bit. Okay, thank you all. So we're moving. Next item is in the business area, and we're looking at textbook adoption.
Yeah, there's a recommendation from Tricia Reed, Director of Curriculum, that you approve the continued use of the world language textbooks, specifically Spanish 1 through 4, Holt, Reinhardt, and Winston. I'm not even going to try that in my best Spanish. Nobody wants to hear that. But so that would be the recommendation, and that would be for the period July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2026.
Got it. And I would think per usual that type of determination is made in conjunction with the faculty and the department head.
Correct.
Yep.
And there's a lot of effort on their part, and then with Tricia trying to locate some workbooks that are tied in for Mrs. Taylor coming on board. So it was a lot of time and effort spent on that.
If there are questions or discussion, I'll pause for just a second and jump in. If not, then I'll move to the vote. And hearing none, I would accept a motion to accept the recommendation for the world language textbook adoption for the languages as presented.
Martin is so moved.
Thank you, Mike. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Brian, second.
Thank you, Brian. I'll go through the vote. Rick Davis,
Aye.
Phil Foster,
Yes.
Brian Gott,
Yes.
Mike Martin,
Yes.
Dennis Reagan,
Yes.
and Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving next to the elementary textbook fee recommendations.
Okay, Tricia Reed, Director of Curriculum, recommends the board approve the elementary textbook fees for 2021 school year. And for kindergarten, that'd be $97.28. First grade, $103.32. Second grade, $83.88. Third grade, $103.02. Fourth grade, $124.80. Fifth grade, $128.04. Sixth grade, $131.83. Preschool, $40. And then life skills, $36.66. All but one of those, the less than 75% increase over last year. So we try to do our best on keeping cost as close as possible as the previous year.
And those are things that if a family is unable to do that, there's discussions that can happen and communications
Yeah,
as well.
free and reduced.
Yep.
Yep, free and reduced is able to help out with that.
Yep. Okay. Are there any questions or discussion regarding the textbook fee recommendations for the elementary? And not hearing any, I would accept a motion to approve the recommendation from the Director of Curriculum for the elementary textbook fees for the year 2021.
Dennis, so moved.
Thank you, Dennis. Is there a second?
Second, Melissa.
Melissa, thank you for the second. We'll go for the vote next. Rick Davis,
Aye.
Phil Foster,
Yes.
Brian Gott,
Yes.
Mike Martin,
Aye.
Dennis Reagan,
Yes.
and Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next item is secondary course fees.
Yes, and Director of Curriculum Tricia Reed requests approval of junior, senior high course fees for the 2021 school year. As presented, fees for courses offered through J. Everett Light and West Central Career and Technical Education Cooperative will be assigned when they are received from the directors at each one of those vocational programs. I also request permission to adjust fees to allow for these and any additional changes if necessary. Not a whole lot of big differences on any of those. Tricia, were there any that you wanted to highlight?
The only highlights that I had for the course fees for this year were English. We did adopt new English at last board meeting. And so with that, there is an increase of between $6 and $8 per semester. Varies from course to course. So that would be the only highlight, really, unless anyone had any questions. Most of the other changes were just to allow for changes in consumables for science. A couple small changes at PE. They put on, added a program, but they took off the PE uniform to offset that price at high school. So again, efforts to keep those costs for the fees as consistent as possible.
Thank you, Tricia. We have a recommendation then for the secondary course fees for the year 2020 to 2021. Do we have a motion?
So moved, Phil.
Thank you, Phil. Is there a second?
Second, Mike Martin.
Thank you, Mike. We'll go with the vote next. Rick Davis,
Aye.
Phil Foster,
Yes.
Brian Gott,
Yes.
Mike Martin,
Aye.
Dennis Reagan,
Yes.
Melissa Smith,
Aye.
Thank you. And next item is salary adjustment.
Yes, I recommend that the board approve an increase of the salaries for all 3 school nurses to $38,948 for the 2020-21 school year.
And the back piece on that puts us in a more of a competitive position and gets it
Right.
more equivalent with first-year teachers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, it's very, what I found out was a lot of the corporations, usually it's about equivalent to the first year teacher pay. Some pay by the hour, and so this puts us in competitive area with other corporations. Yep. And quite honestly, they'd gone a while that we had, prior to us looking at this as an overall where we are. Yep. Competing and competition-wise with others, and I think more now than ever with the COVID-19 situation and the demand for nurses that we have to make ourselves in a competitive, or we could lose out. And I think it's important to have the RN as well. So
That's excellent. We have a recommendation on the salary adjustment to the $38,948 for the 2020-2021 school year. Will someone make a motion?
Brian, so moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Dennis, second.
Thank you, Dennis. I'll go through the vote. Rick Davis,
Aye.
Phil Foster,
Yes.
Brian Gott,
Yes.
Mike Martin,
Aye.
Dennis Reagan,
Yes.
Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item deals with the line of credit.
yes, I would recommend the board approve a line of credit up to $4 million with North Salem State Bank at a fixed rate of 2.2% for the remainder of the 2020 calendar year. So again, it'd be just a line of credit if we get in a situation that we would have to use it, and then it would have to be paid back by the end of the school year. There's just a lot of uncertainty right now with tax and the draws and such that we could possibly, and possible cuts we don't know from the state level. So we just think it's an insurance policy more than anything. We think we have a healthy cash balance and we could cover most items, but just to have this, and we've done it in the past as well. It's been a number of years ago. Fortunately, we haven't had to do it for a while, but even when we did it prior years, we never had to utilize it. So, but still, it's a security blanket.
Yeah, I think we had to do that years ago whenever we weren't sure the change of property taxes and when the state was going to disperse money, and didn't want to put ourselves in a difficult position, knowing it was going to be there at some point, just not sure what the state was going to do on their timing of it.
Right.
Okay. Any questions or other discussion on this topic? Okay. And so we have a recommendation for the line of credit for the $4 million from North Salem State Bank at a fixed rate of 2.2% for the remainder of the 2020 calendar year. And I would accept a motion with that.
So moved, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Melissa.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Before we take the vote, Rick, I'm sorry, I misspoke there. Phil, will you need to abstain on this vote?
Yeah, I'm going to abstain.
Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and through the list then. On the vote for it, Rick Davis,
Aye.
and then Rick. I'm sorry, then Phil. I knew I'd mess it up at least once. Sorry about that. Phil?
Yeah, abstain.
Yep, okay, thank you. Brian,
Yes.
Mike,
Aye.
Dennis Reagan, and,
Yes.
okay, thank you, Dennis. And Melissa Smith?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item will be the contract for the use of the school facilities for child care program.
Yes, each year we have to get board approval. So I would recommend the board approve the contract with Mental Health America of Boone County to provide the base at the end of each school day. It's extended child care, and Pascal and his colleagues do a nice job with that. So I would recommend the board approve the contract.
Yep, and this is not a new endeavor for us. This is a continuation with a renewal of a
Yeah,
contract that's been working well for our kids in the community.
I don't know the total number of years, but it's been a number.
Okay. Yep. Any questions or discussion? I'll pause if anyone has any. And not hearing any, we have a recommendation from the superintendent to approve the contract with the Mental Health America of Boone County. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Rick. Is there a second?
Dennis, second.
Thank you, Dennis. We'll go through the vote. Rick Davis,
Aye.
Phil Foster,
Yes.
Brian Gott,
Yes.
Mike Martin.
Aye.
Thank you, Mike. Dennis Reagan,
Yes.
Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is the Food to School Purchasing Cooperative contract renewals.
Yeah, I recommend the board approve the contract with Aunt Millie's Bakery and Prairie Farms. This is done through Food to School Purchasing Cooperative, and it's a contract renewal through this co-op, and it's specifically right now for the milk and bread.
And that's been a very good program for us to be involved
Yes.
with, and that's something that Ms. Taylor brought to our attention a while back, and is one of those things that's helped keep our lunch prices consistent for everybody.
Right. Mrs. Taylor shopped around to try to find the right co-op, and she's actively involved in this co-op, and the leadership within the co-op is great, and she's been very happy with it.
Good, good. We have a recommendation for this Food to School Purchasing Cooperative contract for the upcoming school year. Do we have a motion?
Melissa, so moved.
Thank you, Melissa. Is there a second?
Second. Mike Martin.
Thank you, Mike. We'll go through the vote. Rick Davis,
Aye.
thank you. Phil Foster,
Yes.
thanks, Phil. Brian Gott,
Yes.
Mike Martin,
Aye.
Dennis Reagan,
Yes.
Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all. Next item is the handbook revisions and changes for the 2020-2021 school year.
Okay, so I would recommend the board approve the revisions to both Granville Wells and Thorntown Elementary student handbooks. Just to try to summarize, at Granville Wells, there's an update on the table of contents, update on the calendar. Number 3, change all references to the start and dismissal time. Any specific typos that were found, and then Page 7 and 8, update safe visitor, that process that we use for checking guests. Parent guardian visits, be more specific on how those are allowed, and to be, the whole idea is to bring clarity and avoid redundancy. And then removal of the section titled, we ask all visitors to be aware of the following. So that's specific. I also, on page 16, a school illness policy. We're going to put what at the direction of the CDC in Boone County, given the COVID-19 outbreak. Page 18, remove the school nurse teaching a basic aid training to all fourth grade. That program is no longer available through American Red Cross. And some cleaning up some of the language in regards to suspension and expulsions on page 20. And then page 22, add grounds for suspension or expulsion immediately before, during, or immediately after school hours, and or any other time when the school is being used by a school group, off grounds, or traveling to or from a school. I mean, these are all allowed by law. And then update the high ability program and the requirements and such to be admitted into that program. And then dyslexia screener. This is something by law that we have to do, so it spells it out a little bit clearer. And remove the rocket booster section on page 40. And then, like I said, the fees. That's at Granville Wells. At Thorntown, update textbook rental fees on page 6. On illnesses, just talking about child, not to send them to school with a fever over 99.6, that they'll go home. If it's over 100, don't send back unless you're fever-free for 24 hours, and then we'll follow a recommendation provided by CDC in Boone County. Title I programs, the dyslexia plan there, the high ability program on page 13 as well. So just making sure that it's up to date and that we have the programs that we provide accurately depicted in the handbooks. So I would recommend approval for those.
And those things are also posted online?
Yeah, the handbooks are.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that's something that if folks don't have a paper copy, they can also be able to get online for access as things are being done. We have recommendations from each of the schools there. I would accept a motion to approve them.
Phil, so moved.
Thank you, Phil. Is there a second?
Dennis, second.
Was that Dennis?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. So Phil made the motion, Dennis did the second. We'll go through the vote. Rick Davis,
Aye.
Phil Foster,
Yes.
Brian Gott.
Yes.
Thank you, Brian. Mike Martin.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Dennis Reagan,
Yes.
Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Got it. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is donations.
Yes, have two donations. The first, Western Boone FFA received a total of $17,694.73 to date in donations for the Milk and Meat campaign that they've been running as a fundraiser to assist needy families. So that would be the one of them. And then the other is Thorntown Elementary received two $50 gift cards from an anonymous donor to be used to support a family in need. So great to see both those, but in particular, the amount that the FFA has raised is outstanding. And I can tell you they've already started delivering to local pantries. I know that our pantry last week We had milk, and then we had some meat that we gave out at ours. So it's you're starting to, the community members that need it are starting to benefit from it.
It's fantastic. Any questions on that? And not hearing any, we have a recommendation from the superintendent to approve those donations. Is there a motion?
Brian, so moved.
Thank you, Brian. We have you on a motion, and Mike Martin, we'll have you for a second.
That'll work.
Thank you. We'll go through the vote. Rick Davis,
Aye.
Phil Foster,
Yes.
Brian Gott,
Yes.
Mike Martin,
Aye.
Dennis Reagan,
Yes.
Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Moving next to non-resident students.
Okay, we have a few here. Teslin Johnson, Granville Wells Pre-K for next school year, 2021. Everly Teljohan, Granville Wells Preschool. Shaylin Dickinson, Thorntown Preschool. Carter Miller, Thorntown Kindergarten. Kendall Taylor, grade 10, Western Boone. Tyler Hurst, grade 11, Western Boone. And then an intra-district transfer, Grace Manners, remaining at Granville Wells for grade 6.
Okay, so we're starting to get some pre-kindergarten kiddos in there. That's good. So we have a recommendation on the non-resident students, and I would accept a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Rick. Is there a second?
Dennis, second.
Thank you, Dennis. We'll go through the vote. Rick Davis,
Aye.
Phil Foster,
Yes.
Brian Gott,
Yes.
Mike Martin,
Aye.
Dennis Reagan,
Yes.
Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next item is the out-of-state or overnight field trips.
Yes, in the ever-changing world of the COVID-19 situation, you had approved at the last meeting for a change, I think it was for June, for the band and choir trip. This would be rescheduled yet again for Walt Disney World for next year, April 13th, 2021 to April 18th, 2021.
Sounds wonderful to be able to take a trip and feel good about it.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they can go.
Mm-hmm. So we have a request and a recommendation for the board to approve that field trip. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Boy, I didn't catch who was first on that.
Dennis, second.
Phil.
Phil, we have a motion from Phil Foster and a second from Dennis Reagan. Okay, thank you both. We'll go through the vote with that. Rick Davis,
Aye.
Phil Foster,
Yes.
Brian Gott,
Yes.
Mike Martin,
Aye.
Dennis Reagan,
Yes.
Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is the Thorntown Library Board of Trustees.
Yeah, I recommend the board approve Jennifer Bob replace Fern Minor to the Thorntown Public Library Board of Trustees effective May 1st, 2020. The board appoints, the Western Boone School Board appoints 3 members to that. So the other 2 that we've appointed are Barney Lewis and then Chuck Barron. So I would recommend that Jennifer be our next appointee, and I appreciate Christine, the director of the Thorntown Public Library, for her assistance in finding Jennifer.
Excellent. And we have a recommendation for Jennifer to move into that board position. Do we have a motion?
So moved, Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Dennis, second.
Thank you, Dennis. We'll go through the vote. Rick Davis,
Aye.
Phil Foster,
Yes.
Brian Gott,
Yes.
Mike Martin,
Aye.
Dennis Reagan,
Yes.
Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Excellent. I know our family's been one of the many families that's benefited from the Thorntown Public Library. It's been a really, really strong resource for a lot of years for a lot of families, and it's great to see the work that they do.
Yep. And I should mention that we appreciate Fern's 12 years that she served on that board. So
Absolutely, they spoke glowingly about the work and the contributions that she had put in. So yeah, excellent. We'll move next to claims.
okay, you all have the claims. There are just two that Kristen wanted me to make sure that. So check number 85981, it was $17,228.80. Those are for modular controls at Granville Wells, and the work was done by Siemens. That's just to keep up with outdated controllers. And then the other one's to Indianapolis floor coatings, check number 85963. $6,000 to install epoxy coatings for the boys' basketball locker and shower area at Western Boone. I know some of that was also, we've tried numerous times to paint those walls in there, and just the humidity, the paint peels in there. So Joe's hoping that this will help to solve that problem on the actual walls as well. But the epoxy is similar to what's at the end of the gym floors, and then down the hallways on each side of the main gym. And they have been, and they're in quite a few locker rooms too. It's very durable material and held up real well. So I know we're hoping it does the same in the locker area, in the shower area in particular.
Great. I'll pause for a minute. If there are questions or discussions around the claims that were submitted. And not hearing any, I would entertain a motion to approve the claims for the period of April 13th, 2020 through May 11th, 2020 then as submitted.
Brian, so moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Phil, second.
Thank you, Phil. We'll go through the roll with it. Rick Davis,
Aye.
Phil Foster,
Yes.
Brian Gott,
Yes.
Mike Martin,
Aye.
Dennis Reagan,
Yes.
Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item are the monthly financial reports.
All right. As of April 30th, 2020, the education fund cash balance was $3,534,162. The education fund expenditures for April 2020 were $658,137. As of the end of April 2020, a total of 30% of the 2020 appropriation was expended. As of April 30th, 2020, the operation fund cash balance negative $240,003. The operation fund expenditures for April 2020 were $316,766. As a result, at the end of April, a total of 26% of the 2020 appropriation was expended. I'll get it right maybe the third time. But FYI, the April 2020 fund appropriation and revenue reports are posted in the school board document site if anybody would like to review those. So, and I encourage all board members to make sure you look at those and understand those. If you have any questions, Kyle, Kristen, myself are here to be able to answer any of them. So,
Excellent. Next item is other.
had one other, had Rachel Kittner, resignation, kindergarten teacher at Thorntown, effective at the end of the 2019-2020 school year.
Okay. And I would accept a motion to accept the resignation of Ms. Kittner, then as presented. Do we have a motion?
Dennis, so moved.
Thank you, Dennis. Is there a second?
Second, Melissa.
Melissa, thank you for the second. We'll go through the vote. Rick Davis,
Aye.
Phil Foster,
Yes.
Brian Gott,
Yes.
Mike Martin,
Aye.
Dennis Reagan,
Yes.
Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And announcements?
The only announcement that I'd have to share is just a reminder that May 18th is the last student day. We have some staff development and student belonging pickup and then school equipment drop off scheduled at various times depending on the building later that week. And I just want to make sure that, again, I know I did last time, but I appreciate all staff members and their involvement in what they've done to make the best of this situation. I have yet to have any staff member complain of the situation that we're in, and they've just done a great job dealing with this. And likewise, students and parents, they've adjusted and dealt with it as a whole real well. So I think a mom said today, I'm just ready for e-learning to be over, but I'd also be ready for school to be over at this time of year as well. So I think we're all kind of feeling that, but we've made the best out of a bad situation. So I wish I could tell you what next school year looks like. We're still probably a month and a half out from getting any kind of guidance on what that's going to look like. The minute we do, we'll get a plan developed and we'll communicate that to everyone and we'll move forward. There are a lot of what ifs out there, and we're just trying to start planning and preparing for what it might look like.
I think back over the last year or two, just having been on the board for a few years now and seeing the development of how it doesn't seem like things change fast until you look back and you realize how much things have really changed. And just thinking back, the first year that we even considered having an e-learning day and what it would look like and are we prepared for it. And I think about Kyle's work and Mr. Christner and the efforts of our IT folks to be able to have some of this stuff even prepared to go. And has it been completely flawless? No, but no school district has been flawless. But just the incredible strides that we've made as a district and the amount of preparedness and the engagement that our kids and the families can continue to make because of some of the groundwork that was put in just a year or two ago. And how that's kind of led up to this point. And it's not what any of us want to be happening, but we're showing resolve in making the best of the situation as it is.
Who would have thought when we were discussing this and coming to the board for approval, we were worried about doing it for
One-to-one
inclement-
technology.
Yeah, inclement weather. We never had any idea we'd be sitting in this situation. And you're right, just the forethought and the being prepared to be able to get this done. Now, the one thing I'll say publicly is that as a state, our rural areas are still underserved when it comes to high-speed internet. And if anything could ever be done to help that out, and you have opportunities to communicate that to those who make decisions as a whole, I think that is one big area that is a huge concern, and it's really being highlighted right now. And I know Senator Young at the federal level is trying to get some things done, and Governor Holcomb had talked about it prior to this, but I mean I think it's really shining a light on it. So, and our families are doing the best they can with the resources we have available.
And that may be a topic for another meeting, but in having a conversation with a county council member yesterday, it was brought up that there may be some funding available, and they would like to hear specifically, we were discussing challenges in our communities. They would like to hear specifically about how they can get behind and support more of the rural school district in making those things happen. So that may be a conversation outside the board meeting, but
right.
I think that's maybe an opportunity for us. So I would accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Dennis, second.
Rick, thank you. Dennis, thank you. We'll go on the roll. Rick Davis.
Aye.
Phil Foster.
Yes.
Brian Gott.
Yes.
Mike Martin.
Aye.
Dennis Reagan.
Yes.
Melissa Smith.
Aye.
Thank you. And for all those in the viewing audience, we appreciate your paying attention and your support of the Western Boone County Community School Corporation. And a special thanks also to Mr. Foxworthy for his efforts in all the preparation and the work and helping make this a reality so that we can be able to broadcast this out. So thank you, Mr. Foxworthy, as well.
Thank you all.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.